solving to calculate payments. So how much are you going to be paying every time you have to pay? So here we have talking about a situation that we just had in our notes. Brett borrowed $3,000 from a bank to buy his first car, and the bank charged him 9% interest compounded monthly. So I'll go ahead and highlight some information that's important. So you borrowed $3,000, 9% interest compounded monthly, and then it's monthly payments over 3 years. So N is now the number of payments. So 3 years, and it's monthly payments. So there's 12 months times 3 years is 36 payments total. And then I is still percentage, so it's 9%. PV stands for the present value. And that's just the amount of the loan. So in this case, it is $3,000. And then you have PMT, that's what we're trying to find, so we're going to leave it blank for the moment. FV is the future value. So after all payments are made. So in this case, if you're paying everything off, you're going to have a future value of 0. And then PY is for basically the pays per year. So it's monthly payments. There's 12 months, so he's paying 12 times in a year. And then CY is the number of times the interest is compounded. It's compounded monthly, so it is 12. Finally, you put all of this into your calculator if it wishes to work. 36, 9, present value 3,000, and then, oops, nope, and then 12 and 12. So let's resolve for PMT, and that gives us here minus 95.4. So you'll notice that the answer is negative. So in this case, negative is always money you're giving. So in this case, you are giving every single month $95.4. So that is why that answer is negative in this case. All right, so in lesson 6.2 and 6.3, it's kind of all about repaying borrowed money. So the first one is calculating payments on borrowed money. Compounding interest earns you more on investments than simple interest. When you need to borrow money, compounding interest will cost you more than just paying a simple interest. So if it costs you more, it means that the lenders earn more. And in this section, we're going to use the TVM solver to figure out the cost of borrowing money. So for number 1, use a TVM solver or an online calculator to determine the monthly payments in the following situations. In this case, you have all interest is compounded monthly, so that's very important to note. Now here you're going to have $200 at a rate of 8% for 2 years. So if you remember when we did this for the tech tip, you have the time to repay the loan times the number of payments per year is what N is going to be. So in this case, N is going to be 2 times 12, which is 24. In the next one, N is going to be 36. In the third one, N is going to be 60, and the same one for the fourth. So when we put this in here, let's just clear this up. So we put this in here, you'll have 24 months at 8%. And we are borrowing $2,000. We're looking for payments. Future value will be once. It's 12 payments per year is what you're paying. And it is compounded monthly. So once again, it is 12. So we're going to scroll back up. We're going to solve for PMT. And you will see that it is minus 90.45. So this makes sense, the minus, because you are paying that $90. So if we just plug everything back in the same way, but for the other numbers, we'll see what the difference is. And then this last one is pretty much the same. The only difference is we're changing the interest rate on it down to 1.9. So now if you look at the payments in C and D, and this is C and D, how important is the interest rate when you need to have a personal loan? So, I mean, this is kind of an opinion thing, but I would say the interest rate is very important because the difference is still going to add up over time to wind up costing you a lot more later on if you have a higher interest. All right, number 2, use the monthly payments found in number 1 to calculate the total amount needed to repay each loan, and then the total interest paid over all time. So here we're just going to rewrite these numbers real quick. All right, so the number of total payments is basically your N. And then here, if you just do 90.45 times 24, you'll have 2,170.8. Compare it to the fact that we had borrowed 2,000 to begin with, and the interest you'll have paid is the difference. So you'll have $170.80 is what the interest is paid. All right, we'll do the exact same thing for the other 3. So here, 157 times 84 is going to give us, 157.84 times 36 is going to give us 5,682.24. And then if you subtract, we borrowed 5,000 to start with. If you subtract that, you'll have 6. So you can see the difference. Once again, E is going to ask us over here, this next question is going to ask us to think about the interest rate again for C and D. So you can see the difference in the amount of the total interest you'll have paid. So if it's a higher interest rate, you're going to pay significantly more money. It's like $2,600 versus $440. So once again, I would say that's very important. Okay, so this one here, we have a situation. Eden recently graduated from high school. She works full-time and just moved out on her own. She purchased $1,700 worth of furniture with no HST for her apartment. Payment in full is required 1 year from the day that Eden bought the furniture. Otherwise, monthly compound interest starts accumulating. So here, we're going to put in, first off, we need to calculate what the tax is on it. So $1,700 times 1.13 will give us $1,921. And then we're going to put everything into the calculator. So it's It's for 2 years. And it's a monthly payment. And here it had said compounded monthly at 27. So our present value is she's going to be borrowing this amount. And then you have 2 years times 12 months is 24 payments. The interest rate is 27.9. We're looking for PMT. There's no future value because it will be paid off. 12 payments a year, compounded every single month. And then once again, you just plug these numbers into the calculator. So we'll wind up having a payment of 105.34. So that right there is each payment, and then calculate the total amount. So that's just per month. So she's doing 24 months times 105.34. So this will give you $2,528.16. After that, calculate the interest paid. So on top of it, so she already had to pay the $19.21, and then you'll have she paid $2,528.16. Gives you $607.16. All right. Now, Eden could apply for a personal loan with a different interest rate. So this, you just change the interest rate to the 9.5. And then solve for the payments. So the monthly payment would be minus 88.20. And then the total amount to be repaid would be $88.20. Once again, it's still 2 years, so 24 months. Gives you $2,116.80, and then we have the same initial value, but this is going to be a different amount paid. So it's basically the same as D up here. It is the type of calculation. So you can see the difference, 607 versus 195. On to the next page, we have making lump sum payments changes the frequency of payments, and taking on a bigger payment are some ways to shorten the time it'll take to pay off the loan. So that will have an effect also on the amount of interest that you're paying, just because you're going to pay off a larger sum earlier on. So this is a slightly different situation. Here, Mick owns a small roofing business. He is considering buying a 3-year-old van priced at $20,000, tax included. He has arranged for a personal loan at his bank with, get my highlighter, monthly payments. So this was $20,000, tax included. For 5 years, 8% interest, compounded monthly. This whole sentence is important. So if we look at this now, you have N will be 5 years times 12 months, so 60 payments. Interest is 8%. Your present value is going to be $20,000. We're looking for the payments once again. Future value is going to be nothing. Payments per year, he pays every month, so 12, and then compounded every month. So how much will he end up paying for the van? Oh, sorry, I skipped right over that. So then you're going to come over here. You're going to change these values in our calculator, 68, and then solve for payments. So the payments he has to make is going to be $405.53. So how much will he end up paying for the van? We're going to do 405.53. There's 60 payments. Gives you $24,331.80. And then how much interest is he paying? So you take away the $20,000 he had before, that was already in the price of the vehicle. That's how much he had to pay to begin with. And you'll get $4,331.80. After making some calculations, Mick feels that he could pay $500 per month for the van. So if we change PMT over here to 500 and we solve for N, how many months will it take for him to pay off the loan? So we're going to round it because you can't just stop partway through a month. So it's 46.68, so it's going to be 47. So how much sooner will Mick pay off the loan with this increase in monthly payment? He originally had 60 months to do it, and he's only going to take 47. So that's going to give us 13 months quicker. And then how much will Mick end up paying for the van now? So he's doing it in 47 months times 500. This is an estimate because obviously it's 47.68. But here if we estimate, it'll be roughly $23,500. And then roughly paying $3,500 in interest. If Mick finishes paying off the loan ahead of schedule, how much money will he save? So if he winds up doing this 500 thing, how much money is he saving versus just paying off with the 60 months? So we're going to go back and we're going to take this value, I'll use a different color, and compare it to this value right here. So what is the difference between them? It is 831.80. All right, and then the bank will be pleased if Mick pays the loan back ahead of schedule. Why will this make it easier for him to borrow more money again in the future? You should be explaining this in more terms and understand how to explain this, but basically it's because he shows that he's responsible and reliable. So he's able to pay off his money, like his loan, and he's not just going to disappear on them or be late paying them back. Like, they want that money back. And then why might Mick want to borrow money again in the future? That would be, maybe he has other purchases he wants to make. So he might need to borrow money again. All right, and in our final situation, we have Shalou has a lot of debt. She has a credit card near its spending limit. She has a personal loan for a used car that she bought 2 years ago. And she owes her mother a lot of money. So this is kind of the breakdown of what she owes. So the credit card has a balance of $250, and then the interest is $18.5 per year. The personal loan has about $2,000 left, and her payments are $156.68 based off 8% interest. She owes her mom $4,000, and she's made no arrangements for paying that back, and her mom doesn't really care about charging interest. So which do you think is the bigger issue, kind of a thing? Like, what should she be paying off first? Now, a personal loan here only has 8% interest, and her credit card has 18.5%. So if she pays nothing on that $2,500, that 18.5 is going to be a very big add-on to her costs. So I would say that her credit card is the thing that she should tackle first, because the interest rate is higher. And then which debt is costing her the most amount of money? So her loan is only $156.68, but her credit card is $2,500 times, if she doesn't pay it that month, 18.5%. If you calculate that, you'll say this is 462.50. So I would say that this is going to cost her more if she doesn't pay off anything on her credit card. So Shalou asks her financial institution for a loan to consolidate her debt. So consolidating means taking on one big loan instead of smaller ones. She's been offered $8,500 at 12% for 3 years, compounded monthly. She can make this payment monthly or weekly. She doesn't have to accept the $8,500. She can take a smaller amount of it. So how much should she take, and explain your answer? You could have a different answer than me. I think that she should take $5,000. So if you have a different answer, that's fine, so long as you can support your reasoning behind it. I think $5,000, she really only has $4,500 she needs to pay off to like banks and institutions. She has the $4,000 for her mother, but there's no interest. She can pay it whenever. If she tackles this thing first, then she could deal with the money for her mom afterwards. So here, $5,000 is also a smaller amount to be charged interest on. And then it still has a buffer. So if ever she does need to spend a little bit more, there's $500 buffer. And she should be trying to maybe decrease how much she's spending while she's trying to get rid of her debt. Finally, here we're going to put this information into the TVM solver. So we had 12% interest for 4 years, compounded monthly. And so we're going to calculate this for monthly payment as well as weekly. So if it's monthly, it's going to be 3 times 12 is 36 payments. So 36 over here. The interest is 12%. Not 0, 12. Her present value, I'm putting 5,000. But if you picked a different number, you should be putting that number in. And then we are looking for payments per year. She's doing 12 of them every month is 1. And then here, solve for PMT. We get 166.07. And then to do weekly is 52 weeks in a year times 3, so 156. So we'll change this over here to 156. And then also we must change this payments per year to 52 because she's paying every single week. So we'll solve for PMT, and this gives us 38.18. Now, to get the total amount repaid, you're going to do times 36 and then times 156. So here you get 5,978.52. And here you get 5,956.8. So the total interest, if you're borrowing 5,978.52, 956.8. So which option should she take? I'll leave that up to you to decide and explain. You should be thinking about convenience and also the amount of interest you're paying.